what is the kind of opportunity you see in terms of growth over the next, say, 3-5 years?
We noticed is that in the last 3 years, things are changing drastically and in the bigger pictures.
What is the normal timeline when you apply for a tender and the result comes in?
The beauty of that is that not everybody can bid for that tender until and unless you have the credential for it.
So how does this business work? Is it order book driven, or is it like, you keep getting rolling orders from clients?
We already have around 130 crores in hand.
Then how do you do things differently and better than others in the same industry?
Built a relationship over the last 20 years very deeply with both the sectors.
Welcome, friends. My name is Avinash Gorakshakar, and I welcome all of you to another interesting episode of Konexio HighFlyers. Friends, as all of us are aware, these episodes help us understand emerging companies from emerging sectors, and we make it a point to talk to the promoters, the top managements of such companies, so that this helps us, understand their company's business model, their growth journey, their future growth plans in a better way. And we get a lot of valuable information from the company's management in this process. And friends, today we have got a very interesting company again, which is going to hit the capital market very soon. The company's name is Rama Telecom Limited. And I have the privilege and pleasure of having the top management team, the promoters, Mr. Rama Kant Lakhotia, who is the chairman and managing director of the company. Rama Kantji, welcome to the show. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable time.
Thank you.
And we also have Ms. Simran Lakhotia, who is the whole-time director of the company. Madam, welcome to you also.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. So, sir, first question, which is very elementary and which is, most of the investors want to understand. If you could describe and tell us what is our company's business model, what do we do, what is the positioning of our company in the domestic market. I've been reading the prospectus. I think we cover the telecom sector, the railway sector, from our services. So, if you could tell us in your own words, what is the business all about, and how did you start this journey? Was it a first generation effort from your side? And if you could tell us something about the journey, that would help us understand you better.
Yes. Let me introduce myself. You have already introduced us. My name is Rama Lakhotia. I am a managing director of this company. I started this venture since last 2003 and continuous that I'm in upgrade motion now. Now, basically, I started in telecom business from the Airtel. Now we are subsequently railway also. Now I have vast experience of the this railway businesses are there also. So now basically I have started from the OFC railway. OFC work when railway started this OFC work, telecom work. So there was there is the revolution in the telecom after starting the OFC work. So I started from that. No onward, 20 onward, it continues going ahead.
Okay.
So, company started in 2004. It started, like my father mentioned, he started the journey with Airtel. And forward going, we established with credentials, because to work with the railways, you need certain parameters and credentials to work. So we started working with railways for further going. In the next 2 years, we started working with the railways. And in the last 20 years, we haven't stopped. We've only grown. What we started in one region, we're now pan India. And our journey with the telecom sector has been vast. I mean, we've seen the revolution of copper laying, which was the previous mode of networking, to now optical fiber, which is what we depend on 4G and 5G and the upcoming modes to transfer data across the world. So, in these 20 years, we've seen the change in business, we've seen a change in the railways, we've seen Airtel grow from leaps and bounds, and we've also grown with them.
Okay. No, understood. Ramakantji, I just wanted to understand very simply that for railways as well as for telecom, which you have been doing pretty early, are the products similar, or are there any differentiation, in the products and services catered to both the railways and the telecom operators? Just wanted a little clarification on that.
No, earlier it was on copper base. Earlier the railway was dependent on the copper base. Now they have changed in optical fiber base. Same things
Okay.
are in the Airtel also.
Telecom as
Airtel
well.
Telecom in Telecom mother business, they have depend on the copper base. Now they are changing in opsi base. So
Okay.
everything is changing.
Also, their mode of working is very different, though. In the sense, of course, one is a public entity, and most of them are private entities. When we come to the railways, of course, they're public, and with other telecom networking service providers, they are private of sorts. So, with the way they work is with how the railway works is there's a tender based system which you bid on, and then there are multiple competitors, and there not only is the price mechanism different, but also the working methods are very different,
Correct.
which is almost like ages, decades old companies, they work very differently. So they have a different working mechanism because technology, the technology is a little different from each other in many
Okay.
ways. Although they both use optical fiber, but there is a differentiation in technology.
Okay. 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 Now, for FY24, I think I was just seeing your top line. It was about 37, 38 crores. Please correct me if I'm wrong. How
Right.
much is the share of telecom and railway? Is it 50-50, or, what is the kind of broad percentage between the services given to telecom operators and the railway sector? Is it equally shared, or is it slightly, in a different proportion?
In telecom, Airtel we are very less. Airtel we have around 12% total contribution. Whereas
Okay.
railway 88%. We are maximum beyond the railway business.
Okay.
So you'll notice this trend now that in FY25, you'll notice a trend that there's been an increase, and it will come down almost, let's say, close to another 15%.
Okay.
Forward going, there will be an increase, but as of now, of course, with uh, with primarily, even then, we'll still always say we started our journey big with the railways. Our journey big started with railways.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now within the railway market and the telecom market, I mean, you all have spent a lot of time in catering to these customers in these segments. Tell me, according to you, what is the kind of opportunity you see in terms of growth over the next, say, 3-5 years? I mean, railways, as you're right in saying, the government is spending a lot of money on infrastructure. A lot of capex is happening. Telecom
Right.
also, we see a lot of private investment coming in. So, in that perspective, in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, how do you plan to capitalize on this growth, looking at both these sectors, telecom and railways?
So what we noticed is that in the last 3 years, things are changing drastically and in the bigger picture. So not only is the government supporting all these telecom and signaling based projects hard, but there's also like a great need for it. So there are not only Kavach based systems which are being implemented largely, but our government is upgrading the railway system, which was earlier 24 fiber to 96 fiber. So, for across the railway tracks of 1 lakh kilometer and more, there is only an upgradation of up until 10,000 kilometer or lesser. So, there is
Okay.
still a margin of 90,000 kilometer which needs to be covered. So, as of now, growth opportunities are endless because we still have to upgrade that 90,000 kilometer worth of fiber in the country. So joining hands with many such opportunities, the opportunities are endless. I mean, when you look at it, even in terms of Airtel, I mean, in telecom sector as well, everybody is increasing because we are going from 4G to 5G as well. Again, the fiberization process is increasing. Also, technology is changing. The work will always increase technology enhancements. So, I think wise and opportunity wise, we have a lot of work left ahead of us. And even when we look at the kind of tenders which come our way, there are a lot of tenders right now in the market which we can pay for.
Okay. Now, just one follow-up question on this, madam. You said that a lot of tenders are there in the market, which we can capitalize on. I want
Right.
to understand, is all our business tender based, like for the railways as well as for telecom? Whenever we try to get new business, is this business tender based, like you apply for tenders and then you get the orders?
Right. Right.
And typically, I wanted to understand that normally, right from the time the tender is invited, the tender is awarded to you. What is the timeline? Like, what is the normal timeline when you apply for a tender and the result comes in? So, if you could please tell us.
Sure. So with Indian Railways, of course, it's tender based because most of the railways works on tenders itself. The beauty of that is that not everybody can bid for that tender until and unless you have the credential for it. So us
Correct.
working for 20 years, we've had that credential which we've built year over year, amount over amount. With the railways, of course, what happens is that based on your technical as well as financial credentials, you get a tender. And as you had asked, what is the timeline for each project? Every project differs. Any project can range from a span of 6 months to 2 years. What happens for most projects is right now that there's this term in the railways which is called variation, which means that let's say a project is for 80 kilometers, we say that there's a stand full amount of 20 kilometers. You can do that as well for forward going. So the total project value comes up to 100 kilometers. So that adds on to certain amount of time as well.
Okay.
Most of our projects are close to 6 years roundabout. And as for the telecom sector, even though there is really no sense of tender of sorts, but we do have a relationship built over a period of time. So, when we started working with the Eastern Zone and now Pan India. So this was because we built a relationship and they started seeing our, quality of work in the East.
Correct.
And so they've distributed work across the country. So that's how it is.
Okay, understood. Madam, for the telecom business, apart from Airtel, which are the other telecom operators where we work? Like, is it only Airtel, or do we work for any other, companies? And secondly, I want to understand that typically, in terms of working capital, is it different for the telecom customers and for the railway customers? Just wanted to get a broad idea about how the working capital, is managed for both these segments.
So, I'll broadly establish that with the railways, we work with the Indian Railways on an entirety pan India. So, there are different sectors of the Indian Railways also. We work with all of them. We work with Railtel as well. We work with RVNL as well.
Okay.
Apart from that, we work with Airtel. We work with Geo. We work with Airport Authority of India, and we have worked with IOCL as well. So any place in, and we've previously very like far in the hand, we've also worked with BSNL. So in the
Okay.
past, worked with almost every telecom infrastructure company, which basically needs anything to establish networking.
Okay.
Um, there is a lot of difference, of course, between the telecom and in railways, in terms of, as you were asking, in terms of working capital cycle as well, and in terms of investment also, they are very different. The
Correct.
higher the revenue, of course, the more the investment is needed. So that means it's extremely different. But with railways, the projects are larger, right? Like every tender is larger. So it differs in terms of obviously investment as well. With Airtel, we get it's a lot of running work in the sense like you have a certain area and you need to commission that entire area. So that's based on region to region. Whereas in the railways, it's a fixed amount, that this will happen on a certain tender because they have a full, how do I say, it? A schedule based on it. So
Okay.
that's how
No,
it is.
typically, madam, I just wanted to understand that typically when you get the order, you execute it, the customer pays you the money. Typically, working capital cycle, is it what, about 60 to 90 days or little over 100 days?
No, it in what happens with most customers, which is our primary revenue providers. What happens with them is that we they have the facility of having a running bill. So it's not essential that if not a certain you we generally prefer completing a certain amount of work and then putting up a bill. Um, the revenue cycle, I would say, is between 40 to 60 days mostly. But
Okay.
in case of any differentiation, it can go to 90 days, but it's a very rare occasion that it becomes
Right.
90 days. But 40 to
Okay.
60 days is the average turnaround
Okay.
cycle post putting up a bill.
Okay. No, understood. Madam, and one other thing which I wanted to understand is this a order book driven business or orders keep coming from your existing and new clients? Like, how does the company work on planning and looking at growth going forward? Like, is it like an order book business, like XYZ company has got an order of let's say X amount. Based on
Yeah.
that, you do your production, your planning of your workmen. So, how does this business work? Is it order book driven or is it like you keep getting rolling orders from clients?
So currently we have almost 130 CR
Yeah.
worth of order
We
in our hand.
continuous bidding tender now. Continuous we are bidding tender for. Now, for we already have around
130.
130 crores in hand. Further,
Okay.
we are bidding for tender. Good tender we are bidding now because we
Okay.
are ample order we have in our hand.
Okay.
So,
Understood.
no,
So
we
it's a
whatever.
two-way structure. Like you had mentioned, there's a rolling period also of orders, as well as there is a good order in hand also to complete.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
No, understood.
yeah.
Okay, now let's keep the financials aside for some time. See, you've got such a long track record of operating in the telecom and in the railway sector. Tell me one thing. What is the value add which we offer to clients, whether it is railways or whether it is telecom, and how do you ensure that these people are happy, they give you good repeat business, the business grows. So, in qualitative terms, two three points which you can tell us that how do you do things differently and better than others in the same industry.
What I'd like to say is, see, we built a relationship over the last 20 years very deeply with both the sectors, be it telecom or be it railways. I think years of working and rigorous ups and downs in terms of technology upgrade, even our manpower understanding, of the same. There can be like there is a point in time where even your manpower technology has to upgrade together. So the good part for us has always been our manpower is always upgraded with technology. Even we've learned to upgrade with technology. We've always lent support and taken support also. We've never shied away from it. We've done partnerships with many companies to understand how does a technology work in a certain sector. So we've always understood the need for technology upgrading because our business is of sorts technology driven. It's a telecom infrastructure company. So both sides need technology upgradation. Also, we're hand in hand. We do indoor work as well as outdoor work, which is tech and infrastructure. So we've always been very steadfast with it. So be it with the railways, they've always depended on us. Even to give us smaller stuff and the bigger stuff, they trusted us with both. And also the name that he's built in the last 20 years, it kind of goes synonymous with quality work, that they understand, okay, if it's Rama Telecom, then we know that we'll end up getting the work done. So that's what.
Well, I think very nicely mentioned by you. Now let's come to the financials. I was just seeing, very strong numbers reported by you in FY24. I think we had a profit after tax of almost 2.61 crores.
Right.
Last year it was 1.08 crores. Now revenue was more or less flat, around 37 crores compared to 33 crores. Now, what was the key reason for this big improvement in profitability? Was it higher order book or maybe better margins or a richer product mix? What was the key reason for this improvement in profits?
No, it is a first we have increased our turnover also. Apart from the turnover, there are specific projects, which is SLT projects. One special project really has given us to complete this project in limited time. It's a very urgent project. So for that reason, we are getting good margin for the project. They will also giving special margin for that project. But we have also spent for that money. So that is why we have special revenue increase. Plus another technology has they have derived. That is SDD. Have you done SDD?
Directional drilling.
Yeah.
So there is equipment which is called HDD, which is horizontal directional drilling, which is
Okay.
basically you can shoot a cable from straight up 1 kilometer. So that really helps shorten the time span of a project, and that's
Cable is
also,
also safe.
and we also have that machinery with us. That reduces the time consumption and it increases the rollover time of the
Rate is
project.
very high.
So the rates are great, so the margins are very good. So it's correlated.
Okay, but see, one thing which I observed from your prospectus, which you have filed, with the exchange, is that for FY24 we have seen your raw material cost, Ramakanji, coming down. It was 18 crores last year. This year it is 15 crores. Now, why did the raw material cost come down? Was there any cost which you decided to go for technology? You did not require any manual effort. What was the reason for that figure to come down?
Yeah, these are two types of work business we are doing. One is supply, another is execution. In this
Okay.
year, we are maximum doing execution work. Supply is lesser. So that is why it is supply is lesser and execution is more.
And also to state that, when you place bulk orders for a region, you can obviously ask for a reduction in price for, because you're placing a large amount of order. So when we look at a certain region, when you get back to back, let's say 2 3 4 tenders together, you can place an order together and we can distribute that particular material across. So that
Okay.
also gave us a reduction, because our tender
Okay.
values also increased in the last few years.
Okay. So basically, please correct me if I'm wrong. So going forward, a lot of strict cost control on raw materials also will be expected
Yeah,
Yes,
going
yeah,
forward.
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, now for December also, till December 24 also numbers have been very good. So typically I was just seeing that your PAT is almost 1.92 crores up to December.
Right.
Almost, if you ask me, FY25 anyway has got concluded with March. Now we are in the month of June. So, broadly, what is the kind of, if you could share with us whatever you can, if you have shared with the regulator, what
Right.
is the top line and profit which we have ended with at least March? That is the current relevant year so that investors can understand, because December 24 is slightly dated.
Right. So actually, what we like to mention is that we've already obviously filed our balance sheet, and with that, we like to understand that our March top line is almost close to 42, and our PAT is coming to about 11 and a half, 12%.
Okay.
So that makes it, as you can see, there's a year-on-year growth in both of them, and we obviously have seen a good jump also because of the same reason. Our execution projects have increased by a good amount. We've also completed a really good amount of projects which have aided to faster working mechanisms for us,
No,
and
understood.
also established ourselves pan India. So everywhere the work requirements are so different that
Yeah.
it's just become a lot better.
No, no, fine. Understood. Madam, I think in the initial answers, I think you mentioned that we have got an order book of 130 crores, right? As of
Right.
now. So
Right.
hopefully, when are these orders expected to be completed? Like,
So see, I'll explain to you. Let's say it could be since they include the term, like I mentioned, variation, right? So like they increase the order value of your existing order value. This includes the certain amount of increase in the order value from
25%
a
something.
certain project. So it could be anywhere between 2 to 3 years. But of
okay,
course, the beauty is that within that we'll be again closing many projects, but we'll be getting new
exactly,
projects as well. So
exactly.
there'll be like a good amount of projects which we'll be closing this year as well. And
Okay,
then there'll be a good chunk of projects which we're bidding for, which we'll end up getting again.
okay, understood. I think that is well articulated by you. Now we come to the most important question of this interview. We plan to go public now, so if you could tell our investors what is the amount of capital we plan to raise from the markets and what is the main objective of these funds.
So we want to end up raising 25.13. That's our aim right now. And the reason for getting these funds is two. Of course, as you can see, we have an order book of almost 130 CR, and we need that kind of
Machinery.
machinery as well. We need that kind of amount to expand our company through and through, to work not just on these orders but to get more orders. Like I had mentioned earlier, that the railway has a track length of 1 lakh kilometer, which is basically that much of fiber optic cable laid. So that
Hmm.
fiber optic cable is getting upgraded also. We want to be a part of the upgrade, right? We want to help with the upgradation. So from 24 to 96, the journey, we'll also need that kind of funds to bring our laying process forward. Currently, we're also looking at a growth in terms of our project values. So, our project values are increasing from 10 to 15, 15 to 20. So the aim is to get bigger and aim higher and build with it. So the
Okay.
aim is, of course, building.
No, understood. My last question for today is basically relating to what is the kind of risk in our business. We have run this company very successfully for such a long time. Tell me one
Right.
thing: what is the most important risk in our business? Is it execution of the order book? Is it retaining your employee force, because that is very important. You need to have your skilled workforce at all possible times, or
Absolutely.
basically maybe a high cost of funds. So, in your own assessment, what is the most important risk in the business, and how have you managed to control it up till now?
I think two things would be, I feel like you had mentioned about manpower. For us, manpower is extremely essential because skilled manpower changes the course of any company. The better manpower, of course, we've always noticed the trajectory that we've had a very good amount of manpower which has stuck with us for the last 10, 15 years through and through. They've understood the crux of the company and they abide by that. And also, apart from that, the since we purely, I mean, since we also work so majorly with the railways, for us, in any point in time, because they help us so much, the government helps us so much by bringing such good investments through. Anytime we see a good amount of policies being shared for our growth, we always take it as a great way forward. But I'd say a risk for that would be a change in government policy would always be a risk to us. At any point in time, there's a minute change. It can change the trajectory of the company's working mechanisms. But apart from that, I think there's really not such a great big risk, that we see right now. But yeah, the basics, as any company would face in an infrastructure functional parameter.
I think very nicely articulated by you, Ramakanji and Simranji. Thank you very much. We
Thank
could
you.
understand the companies in a much better way from both of you. So please accept my best wishes to you, your entire
Thank
management
you.
team, and best
Thank
wishes for your public issue also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
thank you, sir.